Hi there. Good evening, fellow citizens. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of your most number one thought-provoking program, Social Digest. Social Digest, brought to you by CORE, Congress of Reforming Ethics, presented by your one and only senior citizen. What are we digesting today, folks? What are we digesting today? Misconceived notion of society. Misconceived notion of society. What is society, folks? What is society? What is society? You see, society is generally blamed when it comes to our social and economic ills, which is correct. However, many have a misconceived notion of what society really is in our part of the world. Many of us have a misconceived notion of what society really is. And this misconception has hindered our abilities as people to dealing with problems and challenges that affect us. Folks, this misconception really hindered our ability as people to dealing with problems and challenges that affect us. Many of us erroneously refer society to the people. Many of us, when we talk about society, many of us refer society to the people or to family units, and that the moral fiber of Ghanaians' family unit is broken when it comes to our social and economic ills. And you've heard this several times. Folks, the most famous is corrupt leaders are the reflection of the society. The most famous. Corrupt leaders are the reflection of society, which again erroneously presumed as corrupt people beget corrupt leadership. And you've heard this several times in our daily discourse, and they are gross misconception. Folks, they are gross misconception. People are not society. Folks, people are not society. People are the product of society. We are the product of society. Therefore, a bad society produces bad people. It's as simple as that. You see, our predicament, our problems and challenges in life are actually as a result of bad society, and not the people. They are as a result of bad society and not the people. Let us look at the definition of society, folks. Let's look at the definition of society. Society is defined as the aggregate of people. The aggregate of people, folks, living in more or less ordered community. More or less ordered community. That is living in more or less ordered community. And not the aggregate of people found on, let's say, a football pitch, or the aggregate of people somewhere, but living in more or less ordered community. Folks, the emphasis here is ordered community, meaning organized community. This is why the aggregate of people found at a place such as refugees or on a desert are not momentarily referred to as society. They are not. That's why when you find an aggregate of people, total number of people somewhere, okay, are not, but living in more or less ordered community. Folks, this is what society is. What is a community? Let's look at the definition of a community. Folks, a community is defined as a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristics in common. Community can also be defined as the condition of sharing. The underlying word is the condition of sharing or having certain attitudes or interests in common. In all the above aforementioned, folks, there must be a framework to achieve the said results, whether consciously or unconsciously. Folks, in all the definitions, there must be a framework to achieve the said result, whether consciously or unconsciously. That is, a group of people living in the same place, having characteristics in common, sharing or having certain attitudes or interests in common. These are achievable by frameworks, consciously or unconsciously. Folks, I always say that our success in life were actually based on framework. In fact, whatever we do, our failures in life were also actually based on frameworks, consciously or unconsciously. Folks, and such frameworks, or these frameworks, are what are known as society. They are what are actually known as what society. Therefore, when we talk of societies, they are not in reference to the people. Societies are not in reference to us. They are in reference to set of frameworks meant to put a group of people, folks, a set of framework meant to put a group of people to live in the same place, to have a particular characteristics in common. Folks, or a set of framework that creates, folks, that creates the condition of sharing or having certain attitudes or interests in common. This is what society is. And societies come in different forms. They come in various forms, depending on the type set of framework in practice, such as an association, folks, club, fellowship, order, fraternity, sisterhood, brotherhood, league, etc. These are all called society. We even have the Christian society, folks, and we have the Muslim society. Secret societies are in reference to set of frameworks meant to inculcate certain traits in their members, which in general are not considered by the masses. This is what we actually refer to as what? Secret society. Okay, they are in reference to frameworks meant to inculcate certain traits in their members, which in general are not considered by the masses. Folks, therefore, when we talk of society, they are definitely not in reference to the people, but a set of framework to inculcate certain habits, certain attitudes in us, in our environment. Corrupt leaders are the reflection of the society. Does not mean the reflection of us, the people. And I know you've heard this several times. Folks, corrupt leaders are the reflection of the society. And many refer to us. Corrupt leaders are the reflection of society. Does not mean are the reflection of us, the people, but the reflection of the political society, the political framework, which is the government framework in practice. Folks, bad political society produces bad leaders. Bad political society produces bad leaders. You see, mostly when we talk about leadership, and you hear people we have a leadership problem. Of course we have a leadership problem. But you see, fellow citizens, leadership is much more of a verb than a noun, which is the actions of a leader. And this is what we call leadership. The actions of a leader. And as humans, folks, our actions and reactions are based on dictates of our society, of the framework we subject ourselves to, or we were subjected to. Folks, as humans, our actions and reactions are based on the dictates of our society, of the environment in which we live in. Therefore, tell me, folks, when we have a political society, a political framework that says the same people we entrust our resources to oversee to our welfare should be the same people to approve to themselves when they want something, to investigate themselves when they step out of line, to report to themselves and prosecute themselves where found liable. Folks, you tell me the type of leadership expected, if not of a corrupt nature. This is a political society we have. So therefore, when we talk about corrupt leadership being the reflection of our society, that does not necessarily mean being the reflection of us, the people, but the political framework, the political society. We have a social breakdown. Does not mean, folks, the moral fiber of our family unit has broken down as purported by others. It means the set of framework used to govern us to have an ordered community has broken down. That is what it means. For instance, we have a social media. Social media is not us. social media is simply the medium that brings us together. Okay? The framework that brings us together, that bring we the people together to communicate and to share things of our social life. And this is what I refer to as social media. So therefore, when we say we have a social media breakdown, we are talking about that particular framework, that medium that brings us together, folks, and not necessarily the people. Not necessarily the people. So the same thing when we talk about a breakdown, all right, we have a social breakdown. It does not mean the moral fiber of our family unit has broken down. It means the set of framework used to govern us, to have an ordered community, has broken down. Not the family unit. Rather, folks, the total welfare of the family unit or the people happens to be the benchmark of an effective society, or the spectacle through which the effectiveness of a society is assessed. Folks, society are not in reference to the people. They are not in reference to the people. We shall always be misdirected to finding solutions to challenges that afflict our way of life with this misconceived notion of society being the people. Because not knowing the exact cause of a problem, the approach in solving it shall always be misdirected. The approach in solving it shall always be misdirected. No wonder, folks. No wonder we are always misdirected in solving challenges that afflict our way of life. Let me give you a typical example. A typical example is our sanitation problem. Folks, typical example is our sanitation problem. Part of our societal framework is such that bodies and departments were tasked to ensuring that we have a clean environment. Folks, these are the duty bearers of the societal framework. We are bodies and departments that were tasked to ensure that we have a clean society, a clean environment, in which, folks, in which we are the people paying them. We are paying them for their services every month through taxes, but they are not rising up to the occasion. Hence, the whole country engulfed in filth. For years, folks, we were unable to solve our sanitation problem because we, the people, were blamed. We were blamed for poor sanitation in our environment. We were blamed for their perfunctory of duties. Folks, we were blamed. This is likened, folks, this is likened to blaming the people for the rise of thievery and armed robbery in our environment when the police has gone to sleep. It's likened to blaming us for the rise of thievery and armed robbery in our environment when the police has gone to sleep, which is absurd. You and I know it is absurd. Sadly, because majority of us had a misconceived notion of what society really is, we were all caught in this absurdity and blame, folks, and blame ourselves. Folks, we are caught in this absurdity and blamed. Folks, we blamed ourselves. This is what we do. Okay? We are caught. And we tend to blame ourselves. Folks, and we always do this. Okay? We blame ourselves for any social and economic ill that bedeviled us. We tend to blame ourselves. We blame ourselves for everything. Oh, Ghanaians are to be blamed. Ghanaians are that. Ghanaians are this. Ghanaians are that. We always blame ourselves. Fellow citizen, please listen. Fellow citizen, please listen. This is your senior citizen speaking. Please listen. It is not because people will not steal, folks. It is not because people will not steal or break the law. That is why we have the police. It is because people will steal. It is not because people will not litter. That is why we have the sanitation departments. It is because people will litter. It is not because people will not build haphazardly. That is why we have the Land Commission and others. It is because people will build haphazardly. It is not because people will not corrupt. That is why we have all the anti-corruption agencies. It is because people will corrupt. Therefore, when you find out that certain misdemeanor has become the order of the day, certain misdemeanor has become the norm, folks, what it means is that the respective body or departments mandated in our societal framework to ensure that such deviances are kept has gone to sleep. That is what it means. Whatever we don't like in our society, when we realize that has become the norm, the way of life, what it means is that departments and bodies that were tasked to clamp down on such deviances has gone to sleep. And the right thing to do as citizen is to put pressure on those in charge to live up to expectation. That is what we should do. We should put pressure on them to live up to expectation. Pleading on the conscience of the perpetrators to stop, or blaming ourselves for the negligence of those in charge, as we always do, is counterproductive. It's the reason we don't solve problems. We kept on having problems that been deviling us for years and for years and for decades, and we are not solving them. Because all that we do, we blame ourselves, or we plead on the conscience of the perpetrators to stop what they are doing. Folks, this is what we do. This is what we do. Okay? We always do. Oh, Ghanaians, when somebody litter, we say Ghanaians are bad. Ghanaians are filtered. We are 25 or getting to 30 million people. If all Ghanaians are littering, this place will become a refuse dump. The whole place will become a refuse dump. Why is it that if somebody goes and steals, we don't say Ghanaians are stealing too much? Therefore, we know that we have some duty bearers that are mandated or taxed to curb such deviances, and we call on the police to live up to expectation. But when we have people littering, instead of us calling on those departments, charging on them to live up to expectation, we go ahead and we blame ourselves, or we plead on the conscience of perpetrators to stop, or blaming ourselves for the negligence of those in charge. And it's always counterproductive. Furthermore, undermine our civil authority, folks. These undermine our civil authority as people to hold those in charge accountable. If you wonder why, folks, if you wonder why there is lack of civil authority in our part of the world to holding those in charge accountable in our societal framework, whether political society framework, whether environmental society framework, whatever societal framework, if you wonder why there is lack of civil authority in our part of the world to holding those in charge accountable, it is because, folks, it is because there is a misconceived notion of what society really is, and erroneously referred to as the people. Erroneously, folks, referred to as the people. And the people are blamed. The people are blamed. We blamed ourselves, folks, for the negligence of others. Folks, we blame ourselves for the negligence of the entity we've entrusted. Okay? These duties in our societal structure. This is what we always do. We blame ourselves. Folks, if we are all to be blamed, for the negligence of others, if we are all thieves, who catches the thief? I ask. If we are all thieves, who catches the thief? This is likened to who is of no sin should cast the first stone. Hence the wrongdoing in our society in perpetuity. Folks, hence the wrongdoing in our society in perpetuity. Society are not in reference to the people, but the framework in practice. The people are the product of society. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Watch out for much more presentation by CORE, Congress of Reforming Actors. Thank you very much for listening.